If you wish to free yourself from suffering and succeed, you must begin by confronting the truth that no one is coming to rescue you. Your liberation, your success, your triumph over hardship, these are matters that only you can command. The chains that hold you are forged in the unseen world of thought, belief, and habit. Break those chains, and the world that once oppressed you will become the very soil in which your greatness grows. Suffering is not random. It is not fate, nor the cruelty of the universe. It is the result of laws as real and as unbreakable as gravity. These laws govern the human mind. Ignore them, and you sink into despair. Obey them, and you rise into freedom. Every man and woman must decide, will I remain a servant of destructive thoughts, or will I assume the throne of my own mind? This decision determines everything. You cannot free yourself while believing that suffering is outside of you. The conditions of your life are mirrors. They reveal what dwells within. Poverty, fear, doubt, unhappiness, these are not causes, they are effects. They reflect the inner state you have permitted to dominate your thinking. If you long for a different life, you must alter the inner causes. That is where true power lies. There are those who spend their days cursing circumstances, blaming others, or waiting for fortune to change. This is the mindset of bondage. Nothing external can free you until you first transform the thoughts that sustain your suffering. Your mind is the workshop of creation. Every moment you are building, either prisons of limitation or palaces of achievement. The choice is yours. The first step is recognition. You must see suffering for what it truly is. It is the shadow cast when the light of purpose has gone dim. It thrives where the mind wanders without direction, where fear has replaced faith, where complaints drown out gratitude. To free yourself, you must turn the light back on. You must kindle a definite purpose so strong that darkness cannot endure its presence. Purpose is the compass of the soul. Without it, you drift, tossed by the winds of chance. With it, every hardship becomes a stepping stone. Every loss becomes a lesson. Every trial becomes training for greatness. Purpose transforms suffering into fuel. Just ask yourself, what do you truly desire? Not vague wishes, but burning desire. The kind that keeps you awake at night, that sets your heart on fire, that makes obstacles appear small in comparison to the vision that drives you. Once you know what you desire, you must claim it as your definite purpose. Write it upon your mind, affirm it daily, imagine it vividly, feel it as if it were already true. The mind, when dominated by a definite purpose, becomes a magnet. It draws to itself the people, circumstances, and opportunities that align with its vision. Suffering cannot coexist with a mind aflame with purpose. But purpose alone is not enough. You must guard your mind as a king guards a fortress. Every thought allowed inside becomes a builder, shaping your reality brick by brick. Permit fear, and you construct walls of limitation. Permit anger, and you lay foundations of destruction. Permit doubt, and you weaken the very structure you are building. But when you admit faith, courage, gratitude, and determination, you erect a fortress that no suffering can penetrate. Your subconscious mind accepts whatever you feed it. It does not argue, it does not question. It takes your repeated thoughts as commands and works tirelessly to make them reality. If you constantly speak of pain, poverty, failure, and despair, your subconscious will accept these as your orders and reproduce them in your life. But if you declare freedom, success, abundance, and resilience, your subconscious will likewise accept these orders and shape your actions, habits, and environment accordingly. This is why self-talk matters. This is why affirmations matter. Each word you speak is a seed, and the harvest will be inevitable. Speak of misery, and misery grows. Speak of triumph, and triumph becomes your companion. To free yourself, you must discipline your tongue and your thought. They are the architects of destiny. Gratitude is another key. When you give thanks for what you already have, you shift the vibration of your mind from lack to abundance. The grateful heart cannot remain in bondage, for gratitude opens the door to more. A mind filled with complaint multiplies suffering, but a mind filled with gratitude multiplies blessings. Begin each day by naming what you are thankful for, and you will train your mind to dwell on what is good, not what is missing. Action is indispensable. Too many attempt to think their way into freedom while refusing to move their feet. Thought is the blueprint, but action is the construction. Without action, vision decays into fantasy. You must step forward boldly, even when fear whispers in your ear. Every small act of courage chips away at the chains of suffering. Movement creates momentum, and momentum carries you out of despair into the light of achievement. Do not wait for conditions to be perfect. Perfection is the disguise of procrastination. Begin where you are, with what you have, and do what you can. Each act, no matter how small, declares to the universe, I will no longer be a prisoner. Each action plants a seed of freedom. Over time, those seeds grow into forests of opportunity. Discipline your environment as well. Suffering thrives in the company of destructive influences, negative voices, discouraging companions, environments filled with doubt and fear. These are poisons to your mind. To free yourself, you must protect your mental atmosphere as carefully as you protect your body. Seek the company of those who lift you, who believe in vision, who encourage growth. Choose environments that remind you of possibility, not limitation. Remember this: suffering is a teacher, not an executioner. Every trial contains within it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. But that seed must be recognized, claimed, and nurtured. Instead of asking, why me? Ask, what is this here to teach me? The shift of that question transforms suffering into instruction. And instruction is the path to mastery. There is no success without struggle. Struggle is the forge where greatness is shaped. But suffering that remains suffering is wasted. Only when suffering is transmuted into wisdom, courage, and resilience does it serve its purpose. The alchemy of success is the ability to turn pain into power, weakness into strength, defeat into determination. The greatest discovery you can make is that freedom has always been within you. The bars of the prison are illusions sustained by thought. Change the thought, and the bars dissolve. The mind that is disciplined, purposeful, and filled with faith cannot be enslaved, no matter the outer condition. This is the secret that liberates. Mastery of mind is mastery of life. So I say to you, decide now. Will you remain a servant of destructive thought, or will you take command of your inner kingdom? Will you accept bondage as destiny, or will you rise to the throne of freedom? The choice is yours, and in this very moment, you hold the power. The chains are not unbreakable. They are illusions that vanish when confronted by the light of truth, purpose, gratitude, and action. The secret of freedom begins with command over your own mind. To master the mind is to master everything else, for the outer world is only a reflection of what you believe, expect, and repeatedly hold in consciousness. You cannot rise above your dominant thoughts, nor can you escape the consequences of the ideas you permit to dwell within. When you understand this, you will no longer blame others for your suffering, nor will you look outside for your liberation. You will look inward, where the true battlefield lies. Suffering persists because the mind resists discipline. The mind left to wander follows the path of least resistance. It drifts into fear, into doubt, into old memories of failure and pain. Like a garden left unattended, it grows weeds that choke out the harvest of success. To free yourself, you must discipline thought with the same care as a farmer tends the soil. You must plant deliberately and uproot ruthlessly. A single negative idea, if nourished, can spread until it covers the entire field of consciousness. But a single positive seed, if cultivated, can grow into an oak that withstands every storm. The law of concentration is vital. Whatever you dwell upon expands in your life. Focus on suffering, and suffering multiplies. Focus on freedom, and freedom enlarges. The human mind cannot hold two dominant pictures at once. You must decide which image you will feed, the picture of bondage or the vision of liberation. Choose deliberately, for what you feed will soon become your reality. Faith is the tool that strengthens concentration. Faith is not blind belief. It is the conviction that the unseen is as real as the seen. Faith is the ability to hold to your vision when the outer world mocks it. Faith is the power to persist when evidence appears lacking. Without faith, the mind retreats into fear. With faith, the mind advances into freedom. Fear is the greatest jailer of mankind. It disguises itself in many forms. Fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of loss, fear of old age, fear of failure, fear of death. Each form whispers the same lie. You are powerless, but fear is smoke without fire. It has no substance except what you give it. Face fear directly, and it dissolves. Act in spite of fear, and you discover it was only a shadow. Replace fear with faith, and suffering has no foothold. Decision is the weapon against fear. Indecision is the breeding ground of suffering, for hesitation invites doubt, and doubt feeds fear. The moment you decide with firmness, half of the battle is won. The universe responds to decisiveness with momentum, but it punishes hesitation with stagnation. Freedom belongs to the decisive, those who know what they want and move toward it without delay. Your imagination is another key to freedom. Imagination is not idle fantasy. It is the workshop where new realities are built. Everything you see in the physical world existed first in imagination. The chair you sit upon, the building you enter, the inventions that shape your life, all were once pictures in the mind of someone who refused to dismiss them as mere dreams. If you can imagine yourself free, if you can picture success so vividly that it stirs your emotions, then you are already walking the path toward its manifestation. But imagination must be directed by desire and strengthened by persistence. Without persistence, imagination collapses under the weight of setbacks. Freedom requires endurance. You will encounter obstacles, opposition, and delay. These are not signs of failure, but tests of your faith. Persist, and the obstacles that once seemed insurmountable will become stepping stones. Quit, and they become your chain. No one ever frees themselves from suffering without paying the price of persistence. Success is not granted to the casual, it is earned by the determined. The road may be long, but every step forward, however small, is progress. The one who refuses to stop will inevitably arrive. Your suffering will not vanish in a single day, but as you persist in new habits of thought and action, the grip of suffering weakens, and the horizon of freedom draws nearer. Another principle of liberation is self-control. You cannot succeed while being a slave to your impulses. Anger, envy, greed, self-indulgence, these are tyrants that masquerade as pleasures but bind you in chains of regret. True freedom is mastery over self. When you govern your emotions, when you direct your energy instead of scattering it, you stand as a sovereign being, immune to the storms of circumstance. Self-control is cultivated by awareness. Observe your thoughts and emotions as you would a river. Do not let them carry you unconsciously downstream. Notice them, but remain the master of their direction. If a thought serves your freedom, let it grow. If it leads to bondage, cut it off without hesitation. The disciplined mind is the free mind. Another truth must be faced. Suffering thrives on resistance. Whatever you resist, you give energy to. The more you fight against pain, the more you bind yourself to it. The way to freedom is not through denial, nor through resentment, but through transmutation. Acknowledge the pain, but refuse to identify with it. Transform it into wisdom, into strength, into determination. Every wound can become a scar of victory if you choose to rise above it. Let us speak of abundance, for suffering often expresses itself through poverty. Poverty is not merely the absence of money, it is the presence of lack in the mind. The poor mind believes resources are limited, that opportunity is scarce, that success belongs to others. The abundant mind believes there is more than enough for all, that opportunity is everywhere, that success is a natural result of creation. Which mind you cultivate determines whether you remain in suffering or step into prosperity. Money, like all else, responds to thought. It flows toward vision, faith, and service. It flees from fear, doubt, and passivity. To attract wealth, you must see yourself already in possession of it. You must act with the confidence of abundance even before the evidence arrives. You must give more in service than you receive in payment, knowing that the law of compensation will return to you multiplied. Poverty cannot hold a mind that thinks abundance, serves generously, and acts decisively. To free yourself completely, you must also conquer the greatest enemy, self-pity. Nothing binds a soul more tightly than the habit of feeling sorry for itself. Self-pity robs you of initiative, blinds you to opportunity, and poisons you with resentment. The moment you cast off self-pity and accept full responsibility for your life, that moment you stand on the threshold of freedom. Responsibility is not a burden. It is the key that unlocks the prison door. Remember that freedom is not a destination, but a state of being. You do not wait until circumstances change to feel free. You claim freedom now, in the midst of trial, by choosing your thoughts, your focus, and your actions. You are free the moment you declare it and live as though it were true. Outer conditions may lag behind, but they cannot resist forever the power of a liberated mind. The question is not whether you can free yourself from suffering. The question is whether you will. The tools are before you: definite purpose, disciplined thought, faith, gratitude, persistence, imagination, self-control, responsibility. Each tool is simple, but together they form an arsenal of power capable of demolishing any prison. The chains you bear are strong only because you have not yet used the strength within you. The time is now, not tomorrow, not someday, not when conditions improve. Freedom does not come by waiting. It comes by seizing this very moment and declaring with conviction that you will no longer accept bondage as your identity. Act now, think now, choose now. Every delay adds weight to your chains. Every decisive action, no matter how small, breaks a link. And let this truth echo in your heart. Success is not a privilege reserved for the few. It is the birthright of every human soul willing to claim it. You are not excluded. You are not disqualified. You are not destined to remain in suffering. Within you lies the same creative force that has lifted countless others from darkness to light. The difference is not in fate, but in choice. Choose freedom, and the universe will conspire to assist you. The path to freedom demands clarity of purpose. Without a definite aim, the mind drifts, and drifting is the very root of suffering. A drifting mind is pulled by every current of fear, every suggestion of failure, every whisper of doubt. The person without purpose becomes a victim of circumstance, tossed like a ship without a rudder. Freedom comes only when you seize the wheel and declare the direction of your voyage. Definiteness of purpose is not a vague wish. It is a clear, specific, burning desire. It is the decision that nothing will deter you, that you will move forward until the goal is attained. It must consume your imagination, command your energy, and ignite your will. The mind, once fixed upon a definite objective, organizes itself into harmony. The faculties align, the emotions fuel persistence, and the subconscious becomes a magnet, drawing resources and opportunities into your path. Suffering thrives on aimlessness, but purpose transforms suffering into strength. Every hardship becomes fuel when linked to a higher aim. Pain loses its sting when it is understood as part of a greater mission. With purpose, you cease asking, "Why must I suffer?" and begin declaring, "This too shall serve my success." The mind that would be free must be fed with truth. Ignorance is bondage, but knowledge liberates. Yet knowledge alone is insufficient. It must be applied. There are countless individuals who know what to do, but never do it. Their suffering persists, not because the key is missing, but because they refuse to turn it. Freedom belongs to those who transform knowledge into action, who live what they know, who refuse to let wisdom remain idle in the intellect. Action is the bridge between suffering and success. You cannot think your way out of pain without moving your feet, without lifting your hand, without engaging with life. Right action, sustained by faith, transforms inner conviction into outer results. The mind may conceive, but only action achieves. Every step forward, however small, weakens the grip of bondage. Every courageous act strengthens the habit of freedom. Persistence in action creates momentum. Momentum is the invisible power that carries you over obstacles. At first, every effort feels heavy, for inertia holds you back. But once momentum builds, success accelerates, and what once seemed impossible becomes natural. Do not stop when results appear small. Persist until the force of momentum carries you with ease. The world steps aside for the one who refuses to stop moving forward. Remember also the law of habit. Your suffering is largely the result of habits, habits of thought, habits of feeling, habits of action. The change you feel are the patterns you have repeated until they hardened into prisons. But just as a habit is built, it can be replaced. Each day, by deliberate choice, you can form new patterns that serve freedom rather than suffering. Consistency is the secret. Do a thing long enough, and it becomes part of you. Choose your habits wisely, for they will either enslave or liberate. Gratitude is another key that dissolves suffering. Gratitude shifts the mind from lack to abundance, from complaint to appreciation. Suffering thrives on what is missing. Gratitude flourishes on what is present. Each time you give thanks, you affirm freedom. Each time you dwell in complaint, you affirm bondage. No soul can remain chained while sincerely practicing gratitude, for gratitude aligns the heart with abundance, and abundance is the atmosphere of success. Consider also the power of the subconscious mind. This vast storehouse, working day and night, obeys the commands impressed upon it. If you fill it with fear, it reproduces fear. If you fill it with faith, it reproduces faith. The subconscious is neutral. It does not judge. It only creates. Speak to it daily with conviction. Affirm freedom, affirm success, affirm abundance. And your subconscious will weave circumstances that match your inner decree. Autosuggestion is the deliberate tool by which you instruct the subconscious. Through repetition of positive statements charged with emotion, you reprogram the inner mind. This is not idle wish-making. It is the scientific planting of seeds in fertile soil. Speak as though freedom is already yours. Declare success as though it has already arrived. What you continually affirm with faith becomes your reality, for the subconscious accepts persistent suggestion as truth. But beware. Negative autosuggestion is equally powerful. Every time you repeat, "I cannot, I am defeated, I will never succeed," you instruct the subconscious to make it so. Guard your words, for they shape your destiny. Speak only what you desire, never what you fear. Another law to master is the law of association. You cannot free yourself while surrounding yourself with influences that chain you. The company you keep either lifts you or drags you down. Associate with those who encourage faith, courage, and ambition, and you will rise. Associate with those who dwell in fear, complaint, and failure, and you will sink. Freedom is not merely an individual task. It is supported or sabotaged by the environment you choose. Mastermind alliance is the highest form of association. When two or more minds come together in harmony toward a definite purpose, a new power is created, greater than the sum of its parts. This invisible force, born of cooperation, multiplies ideas, strengthens faith, and accelerates success. To free yourself, align with others who seek freedom and success, for together you generate a force that no suffering can withstand. Understand, too, that time is the most valuable resource you possess. Suffering often masquerades as procrastination. Every hour wasted in delay adds weight to your burden. Freedom requires the wise use of time, the refusal to squander the present in idle distractions. Each moment can be invested in thought, learning, service, or action. Each moment spent unwisely deepens bondage. Guard your time as a treasure, for it is the only currency with which you purchase freedom. Let us return to the power of desire. Desire is the starting point of all freedom, all success, all transformation. Without intense desire, no one persists through trials. Without desire, imagination grows weak, faith fades, and action falters. Your desire must be definite, burning, unquenchable. It must become an obsession that drives you through fatigue, through discouragement, through every appearance of defeat. Weak desires bring weak results. Strong desires bring great results. Fan the flame of desire daily until it consumes every doubt. Suffering also dissolves when you align with service. No individual can succeed long who seeks only for self. The law of life is giving. When you give of your talents, your energy, your resources to serve others, you step into the current of abundance. What you give returns multiplied. Service frees you from the prison of selfishness, expands your vision, and draws the cooperation of others. The one who serves greatly cannot remain in suffering, for service opens the gates to prosperity and peace. Do not mistake freedom for ease. The path is not without labor, sacrifice, and challenge. But suffering is not found in the labor itself. Suffering arises from resistance to labor. When you embrace the work with joy, when you see effort as the price of liberty, pain transforms into purpose. The struggle that once felt heavy becomes the very process that strengthens you. Every champion of freedom has walked through fire, but each came forth purified, not consumed. Now let us consider failure. Failure is not the opposite of success, it is part of success. Every temporary defeat carries within it the seed of equal or greater benefit. Suffering clings to failure because it sees only the loss. Success rises from failure because it searches for the lesson. Freedom comes when you cease fearing failure and begin embracing it as the refining fire of growth. Each failure removes weakness, teaches wisdom, and prepares you for greater triumph. Defeat is never permanent unless accepted. The moment you refuse to quit, defeat loses its power. You may stumble, you may fall, but you rise again, and in rising, you grow stronger. There is no bondage for the soul that cannot be kept down, no suffering for the one who learns from every setback. Victory belongs to the persistent, to the one who transforms failure into feedback, pain into progress, adversity into advantage. Finally, remember that success is not merely the accumulation of wealth or status. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Freedom is not measured by possessions, but by peace of mind, by self-mastery, by the power to live in harmony with truth. The one who governs thought, who directs desire, who serves with purpose, who persists with faith, such a one is truly free, regardless of outer conditions. The truth is clear. Suffering is not your master unless you permit it. You have been given the tools to rise, definite purpose, faith, imagination, persistence, gratitude, autosuggestion, mastermind, service, self-control. These are not abstract theories, they are practical instruments. Use them daily, and freedom is assured. Refuse them, and suffering remains. The choice stands before you every moment. You may remain in bondage, or you may walk into liberty. You may dwell in complaint, or you may rise in gratitude. You may drift in indecision, or you may act with purpose. No power outside you can decide, only you can. And when you choose freedom with conviction, the universe itself bends to assist you. If you desire freedom, you must begin by mastering yourself. The greatest prison is not built of stone or steel. It is built of uncontrolled thoughts, ungoverned emotions, and undirected energy. The mind left undisciplined will enslave you to fear, anger, envy, and doubt. But the mind that is disciplined becomes a servant of your highest vision. Self-mastery is the foundation of all liberty. Without it, no lasting success is possible. The first step in self-mastery is control of attention. Whatever you consistently give your attention to expands. Suffering expands when attention is fixed upon pain, fear, or limitation. Freedom expands when attention is fixed upon purpose, faith, and possibility. Direct your attention deliberately. Guard it as the gatekeeper of your destiny. Do not permit it to wander aimlessly, nor allow it to feed upon every negative suggestion that enters your environment. Where your attention goes, your life flows. Discipline also requires control of words. Words are not idle sounds. They are creative forces. Every word you speak plants a seed in your subconscious and in the minds of others. Speak words of freedom, and freedom takes root. Speak words of defeat, and defeat multiplies. The careless tongue binds, the disciplined tongue liberates. Choose your words as carefully as you would choose precious jewels, for they shape the reality you inhabit. Master also the emotion of fear. Fear is the jailer of the human spirit. It chains initiative, silences ambition, and paralyzes action. Fear is the root of most suffering, for it magnifies obstacles and shrinks possibilities. To be free, you must face fear, understand it, and master it. Fear is nothing more than faith turned upside down. It is imagination directed toward disaster instead of victory. Replace fear with faith by focusing on what you desire, not what you dread. The same energy that feeds fear can be redirected to fuel courage. Faith is the antidote to suffering. Faith is not blind hope. It is the inner certainty that your vision will be realized despite appearances. Faith transforms delay into patience, obstacles into stepping stones, and trials into triumphs. It is the unseen force that moves mountains, the quiet power that sustains persistence when all else fails. Faith is the foundation upon which freedom is built, for no one can rise above suffering without believing it is possible to do so. Cultivate also the habit of decision. Indecision is a silent thief of freedom. Each moment of hesitation allows suffering to persist. To decide is to cut off all other possibilities and commit yourself fully to one course of action. Decision creates power, clarity, and momentum. Indecision creates weakness, confusion, and stagnation. Every leader, every free soul, every successful individual is decisive. They may err, but they move forward, and in moving, they learn. The drifter delays. The master decides. Responsibility is another cornerstone of freedom. The one who blames others for suffering remains chained. The one who accepts full responsibility for life unlocks the door to liberty. Responsibility means acknowledging that your thoughts, words, and actions shape your destiny. You cannot always control circumstances, but you can always control your response. And in controlling your response, you reclaim your power. The more responsibility you accept, the greater your freedom becomes. Success and freedom also demand imagination. Imagination is the workshop of the mind, where all plans are formed, all visions created. Without imagination, there can be no growth, no progress, no innovation. Suffering thrives when imagination is used destructively to picture failure, loss, and disaster. Freedom flourishes when imagination is directed constructively to picture success, abundance, and victory. What the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Guard your imagination and direct it only toward the life you choose. No one ever attained freedom by living only for self. True success requires harmony with others. Cooperation is the law of growth, while selfishness is the seed of decay. The free individual understands that success cannot exist in isolation. It flourishes in networks of mutual benefit. Every act of service, every contribution to the good of others strengthens your own foundation of freedom. He who seeks only to take remains impoverished, but he who gives abundantly receives in overflowing measure. Love, too, is a liberator. Hatred, resentment, and envy are chains. Love dissolves them. Love in its highest sense is not mere sentiment, but a state of goodwill, a recognition of the worth of every soul. Love expands the heart, clears the mind, and aligns you with the deepest truth of existence. No one can remain in bondage while practicing genuine love, for love transforms both the giver and the receiver. It is the highest law, the essence of freedom, the atmosphere of success. Do not confuse freedom with the absence of discipline. The undisciplined life is slavery to impulse. True freedom comes when discipline creates order, and order creates power. Discipline in thought, discipline in action, discipline in emotion, these are not restrictions, they are liberations. Just as a river gains strength when its waters are directed by banks, so the human spirit gains power when directed by discipline. Without it, energy dissipates. With it, energy achieves miracles. Freedom also requires harmony with the unseen laws of the universe. There are laws as certain as gravity, laws governing success, abundance, and peace. These include the law of sowing and reaping, the law of cause and effect, the law of growth. Ignore them and you suffer. Align with them and you prosper. Plant seeds of thought, word, and action wisely, for whatever you sow, you shall reap. The universe is impartial. It returns to you what you give. Sow fear, reap bondage. Sow faith, reap freedom. Patience is another secret. Suffering often comes from demanding instant results. Freedom is not always gained in a single moment. It is built steadily, consistently, through daily effort. Impatience destroys faith and blinds you to progress. Patience strengthens faith and reveals that every step forward, however small, is part of the greater plan. The oak does not grow in a day, nor does the free soul. Yet, with patience, the growth is certain. Success and freedom demand persistence above all. Persistence is the refusal to quit, the determination to rise each time you fall, the unyielding spirit that continues despite every obstacle. Persistence transforms weakness into strength, doubt into certainty, defeat into triumph. Suffering cannot hold the persistent soul, for persistence is stronger than circumstance, greater than failure, more powerful than opposition. There is no bondage that can withstand persistent effort. Finally, recognize that freedom and success begin in thought, but must be lived in daily practice. Great truths remain powerless unless applied. The principles of desire, faith, autosuggestion, imagination, decision, persistence, gratitude, service, and love are not philosophies to admire from a distance. They are practices to embody each day. Only by living them consistently do you break the chains of suffering and step fully into liberty. Remember, always, you are the master of your fate, the captain of your soul. No force outside you can chain you unless you consent. The mind is your dominion, govern it, and you are free. The heart is your guide, follow it, and you are fulfilled. The spirit is your essence, align with it, and you are unstoppable. Freedom is not a gift to be received, it is a victory to be claimed. Success is not a chance event, it is a deliberate creation. The time for freedom is now. The place for success is here. The power to achieve both is within you. Do not delay. Do not wait for circumstances to change. Change your thoughts, and circumstances will follow. Change your faith, and results will transform. Change your actions, and destiny will obey. This is the truth. Suffering is a choice, and so is freedom. Choose freedom. Choose success. Choose to live as the master you were created to be. The keys have been placed in your hands. Unlock the chains, walk out of the prison, and claim the life of abundance, peace, and triumph that is rightfully yours.